Good evening, everybody. This is episode 30 of our Let's Play series in Space Engineer Survival, version 1.190.1. I found more uranium. I found a buttload more uranium. I have actually already filled my colonizer with uranium ore, and we've still got this big old patch here, and I did not pick up a single piece of stone. So it goes relatively deep. I don't know how deep it goes. I haven't gotten all the way through it yet. Like I said, I haven't gotten any stone. Um, and obviously it's still very wide. There are parts here in this circle that I'm looking at that I haven't even drilled on yet. But we have a full cargo hold. Obviously there's nothing in the survival kit because we can't put uranium in the survival kit. So this is the same asteroid that we found the other deposit on, the much smaller deposit. I was flying around here trying to find it. I couldn't find anything with just the colonizer and the small grid ore detector. So I went back and picked up the mobile construction module and started flying around with that. And then I found a deposit. It was obscured. I couldn't actually see it. It was about 200 meters away. So I dropped off the mobile construction module right where I saw it, where I found it, turned up the antenna power a little bit so that I could continue to see the marker, and flew the colonizer ship around until I actually found what I was looking for. And this is not exposed to space, this deposit. So, I mean, I would not have seen this unless I had, thought to poke my head into one of these little holes here. Um, I'm underneath I guess it's a fair-sized crater in a little cavern, um, but it's not big enough that I would have ordinarily thought to fly down into it, and it would have taken me quite some time to find without the additional range of that large grid ore detector. Anyway, we found it. We are full up of uranium ore now. I've still got a decent amount of uh, uranium ingots in my reactor. Haven't touched the hydrogen reserves. But now we are going to go back and, if I can find my way out of here again, and pick up our mobile construction module and head back to the industrial complex. Where's the damn hole? That's the one I came in through. Yeah, so this is where I came in. These two little poke outs here. Um, so this is the way I'll go back out, just because I think I'll be able to find my mobile construction module a little bit quicker and easier coming through this way. And I know I'm wider than I am tall because of those damn Gatling guns. So I'm going to roll over this way a little bit. There are actually a couple of holes in this cavern, ways to get in and out, but they're relatively small holes. And, unless there's ideal lighting conditions, it's possible that they'd be covered in shadows such that I wouldn't even see them unless I was directly over them. So definitely needed the large grid ore detector to find this stuff. But we did find this stuff. Did I bookmark it? Yeah, I did bookmark it. I got a space U $ because that's the one that we hit pay dirt on. Um, and this is actually right next to where our industrial complex is. You can see it sitting right there. Um, so I do have to go back and pick up the mobile construction module, but then we'll move it back into this vicinity. Just so that when we come to this MCM marker here that I left, we'll be able to see everything and navigate that way. But yeah, then we'll be able to come back into this hole, and I'm actually going to create another bookmark here just so that I can find the entrance to the cave easily. Which I also did here for the cobalt and ice cave entrance. And that's going to factor into the autopilot stuff that we're also going to do today. Because if you try to use autopilot to fly directly into a point in the middle of an asteroid. I'm not sure how it'll handle that. There is such a thing as collision avoidance on the autopilot. There's a setting that you can use to do that, but I am not entirely sure how effective it is. Um, so I am not planning to rely on that. We've also got a U exclamation marker on here that I'm going to go ahead and remove because it was referring to this same deposit, but it was just much further away. The exclamation mark, remember, means something that I can see with the large grid detector, but can't see with the small grid detector. But again, we don't have to worry about that now, and I am within range of the antennas there, so I can actually see the antenna marker for the module itself, so I don't need that bookmark to go back and find it. I did make use of the merge block. I mentioned something last episode about possibly removing those merge blocks because I think that that's causing some of my issues with trying to get stuff to move. I think I'm colliding with something on some invisible thing on the merge block. But I did use it to um, move the mobile construction module around because I couldn't see that ore deposit from where I had parked it. And it flew very smoothly with it attached to the merge block, so I am conflicted. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or if I'm going to remove it. I'm going to keep it for now, we'll put it that way. But anyway, for today, since we have all this extra uranium now, especially, I am definitely going to make sure we get a large grid small reactor built on our space industrial complex. And then I will put some bits together to attach a remote control to the colonizer. And we will play a little bit with the autopilot by picking a bookmark with magnesium on it and go pick up some magnesium so we can bring that back and start refining it, and we will be using the magnesium to make ammunition, both for our personal assault weapon and for the Gatling guns as well. And we'll see how we're doing for time there. I have, at least for the 20th episode, made it a little bit longer on purpose. I don't know how much longer I will make it on purpose this time, but I think I'm going to try to at least get all that stuff done. At the very least, get the autopilot started flying over to the magnesium deposit. We'll see. We'll see how the time goes. So we need to turn around here because the merge block is behind the connector and the connector is directly underneath of where we are right now. Go ahead and just use dampeners to stop. Now we want this toolbar. We are not tilted correctly. We'll get this docked up. So we need to turn the merge block on so that it'll actually connect when we make contact. The camera is between the connector and the merge block, so if we shoot for kind of the top of the merge block-ish, we should be able to make contact. But we do want to slow down some. That'll do. Wobble until we lock here. Help it out some. There we go. Turn our connector on and lock it. Now it's not super duper necessary. It allows us to transfer cargo, and there's no cargo to transfer, so it's kind of whatever. You can see we are still getting some shakiness in our velocity there, but we're not getting the damage effects for using our upwards thrusters. So I'm calling that an improvement over the previous experience. So our bookmark is over there. Yeah, I searched this whole asteroid pretty much. I mean, I don't clearly didn't go over it with a fine-tooth comb, or I would have found it the other way. But I did a pretty extensive search, flying all the way around it and everything with just the colonizer and the small grid ore detector, and didn't find squat. I was questioning the logic that, oh, there's uranium deposit one place on this asteroid, there should be another one somewhere on this asteroid. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try using the large grid detector because the range is definitely better. And that's how far I had to go before I found something useful. So this was definitely a worthwhile investment. I mean, clearly it's what got our industry jump started here in space, so it's definitely a worthwhile investment in that regard. But particularly putting the large grid ore detector on it was also very useful. And I'm going to try to park this a little bit more consistently with the way that the industrial complex is oriented to make it a little bit easier to transfer stuff back and forth if that becomes necessary again at some point in the future. So despite where the bookmark currently is, I'm going to fly it over this way. Uh-oh. That is out of power. You can see everything's red there. All the upgrades are red there. That's because we are out of power. So I've been flying around here too long. I thought we had more time. I mean, we were running both refineries, so I guess I'm not super surprised. But we will live because we have all of our parts already assembled for the reactor. And we do have a fair amount of uranium ingots, not only in our own ship's inventory, um, in the small reactors, but also in the refineries over there. So we'll just access those that way and go ahead and build the small reactor now. That was going to be our next step anyway. So we're on the bottom, so it's behind me. There it is. What is going on with my relative dampeners? Let's go ahead and turn off the relative part so that we don't have any shenaniganry there. I will want to convert that back into a station, but I'm not perfectly happy with the orientation. Yeah, I'll go ahead and fix that. Whoa. Meteor cutting it a little bit close. Yeah, this is part of the reason why I want to get some ammunition built up so that we can build some turrets on here. Some automatic turrets that will be able to target and destroy meteors rather than letting them hit us and blow up all of our stuff. Still seems like we're getting some weird clipping issues. Sometimes it just does not want to move, and then I squirm around a little bit and it's fine. It is much more maneuverable. Oh well, deal with that later. Okay, so all of our bits are in the assembler. And we will not be able to fit quite all of them. And we want it up here. We want it connected. Do we want it up? No, we want it down here because I'm going to put cargo ports up there, or cargo containers up there. So we want it down here with the on the same level as the connector. Now, do I want it to face the connector, or do I want it to face a different way? It doesn't really matter because there's going to be an upgrade in the way here, so it's not like we could run a conveyor along this way if we wanted to. And it's not like we need to. So I think I'm actually going to deliberately point it a different way. Does need to be connected though. I'll go ahead and face it out. That makes sense. Face it out. It's as good as anything. We can reclaim all the parts if we decide to move it later. This is not a battery. So because it's attached to the refinery's conveyor port there, as uranium becomes available, as uranium ingots become available, they will automatically feed directly into here. Now that's not going to work initially because there's no power, so the conveyors are not functional. So we will have to manually put some uranium in there, but that's not a problem. All right, so we got through a healthy portion of that. We got through about 2/3, a little bit more of the ore that we had initially, and we have just short of 80 ingots. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull, no, I'm not gonna pull 10 because I'm accessing the assembler and the conveyors are not functional. I can pull it out of here. I can still access the inventory directly, I just can't access it through the conveyor network because there's no power, so the conveyor network is not functioning. Now it will be interesting to see how much power this can generate. My guess is going to be 5 megawatts because that's what the large grid hydrogen tank does, or the hydrogen engine rather does. And I have a feeling that they kind of track the same way that the small grid one does. But what will be interesting is to see how fast these ingots go. Well, they're getting sucked in now, so it's kind of hard to tell. But the small reactor, oh, 15, that's even better. Nice. And we're outputting 12 because we're charging the battery. So that battery is going to charge, and then the uranium consumption will slow down. But we've got legit power here now. The battery is going to take in 12, but then it's going to output 1.12 to actually run those refineries. So those are functional again. And we are still pulling in uranium ingots. We can hold 1,000 in here. That's a little absurd. In here we are still working on refining silver. And we've got our cobalt waiting to be refined next. But yeah, we've gone nuclear. You know, again, that was the title of the last episode, but that was based on, you know, actually having our own uranium supply and being able to run the small grid ones on the colonizer. But now we have provided independent power to our industrial complex, so that'll be able to run on its own now, as long as we keep it supplied with uranium, which seems like it will be fairly easy to do. And yeah, that battery was definitely all the way down. Fully recharged now in 15 minutes. That is awesome. Ain't nuclear power great? Okay, so next I want to do things that are important and useful. Um, I never did actually lock this in position. Wrong button. I was looking for C and hit V instead. Right, that can stop there. And then we will turn off the merge block. Make sure we're still happy with our alignment. Although it's going to fight us and be wonky now because it's not the same grid. Close enough. We are still eventually, I think, going to turn this into a ship. And then we'll be able to do whatever we want with it maneuver-wise. So now we will turn off the connector. Cut ourselves loose. Is that moving? Yeah, that's moving. That's a problem. Just because it's moving faster than we are. Because you can't convert a ship to a station if it's moving. That's the thing. Turn the connector back on. Bang into that uncomfortably. Lock it so it stops moving. Turn the dampeners on so we can stop. I'm going to turn... No, I'm not going to turn the engines off because I need the dampeners. And I don't think we can do this with it connected to a small ship. No, we cannot. Alright, let's try this again. Unlock. Remote access. Convert to station. There we go. Turn the connector off now so we can move. Turn the dampeners off so we can keep moving. I think I offloaded some of the uranium onto there because the drill was full before. That's okay. Pick it up. Wow, that went pretty far down. awkwardly stuck on something again. So that is now pulling in uranium. It's pulling everything else out of the drill for sure. Because it actually gets pushed out of the drill. Looks like it all went into the connector. We'll go ahead and pull this cobalt back out. Do uranium first. There may come a point where we say, you know what, we've got enough uranium. We don't need to worry as much about refining it as refining some other stuff. But it is not this day. We will eventually want more cobalt. We have tons of silver now. We could probably actually switch out the silver. We definitely need cargo space. Yeah, I think we need cargo space. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that using our fancy assembler here. Now, while we are waiting on that, we need a remote control block. This is going to be small grid, so we need interior plate, construction component, motors, motor, and computer. Do we have anything left on here? I don't think we do. Oh, we got a bunch of uranium and ice. More uranium than I can hold. That's fine. That's going to stay there for now. Small block, remote control. Push these to the front of the line because I need them. We've got plenty of interior plates. These will make up for the ones we're going to steal. Alright. Orient myself here. Find my ship. There it is. And it doesn't really matter where we put this. It doesn't need to have visibility. It just needs to be facing in the right direction. Otherwise it will get confused about where it's going. So I think I'm just going to stick it here. Although we may want to move that if we end up taking the merge block off. If it comes to that, we can deal with it another time. So there we go, remote control, done. Now we'll sit in here. Now I have never done this before. I've used the remote control as a remote control, but I've never used it as a autopilot before. So this is going to be a new experience. Does it need to be the main remote control to have autopilot? Nope, that's not the reason. Does it need to be undocked from a station to have autopilot? That's probably what it is. So assign camera, none is fine. Forward direction, forward, I don't know what that means. We're going to do one way. I am going to reduce the speed limit to 80, I guess. And then we need to pick a GPS location. And it's going to be one of these magnesium ones, but I don't know which one yet. Alright, so let's find a location here. Magnesium, that's on the planet, that's not helpful. Now we got a bunch of magnesium spots. Alright, now which one's close? 53, 75. Ooh, there's one just 10 clicks away. That'll be the one then. So we're going to go to magnesium 2. I'm actually going to rename that one to magnesium 1, just because that way I will more easily remember that it's the important one. And then the other magnesium 1, the artist formerly known as magnesium 1, will be magnesium 2. Okay, so next, engine or thrusters, gyros, and reactors are turned on. Go back into first person view here, turn off the connector, lift off, turn off these other GPS markers actually. For now, I'm assuming that magnesium 1 that we found there is actually going to be accessible. As in, we can see it with the small grid ore detector. Get us clear of the industrial complex here just so that we can see what's going on. Okay, now we'll set up a new toolbar for the remote control to toggle autopilot. I guess we'll also have it set so that it can... Wow, what is all that? I haven't played with the remote control much, can you tell? We'll do speed limit controls because I think that's most useful right here. And there's nothing here about setting waypoints, which makes sense. That's not a surprise. And I don't need control on the hotbar because if I'm sitting in the cockpit, then control makes no sense. If anything, I'd use control if I had faced the thing backwards so that I could treat the rear turrets as if they were forward facing as far as steering the ship, but I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to do that for now. Alright, so next thing we will do is come in here, find the remote control again. We still can't turn on autopilot because we have no waypoints. I think that's the reason. And then we will find magnesium 1. We can set up actions, so when we reach the waypoint we can do a thing. But I don't think I want to do that. And now we can engage the autopilot. So I'm not entirely sure how this collision avoidance and precision mode thing works, but I think that I do want precision mode. No, I want precision mode off for now because I don't remember exactly where this waypoint is. So if the waypoint's like inside a rock, I don't want precision mode. And but I do want collision avoidance. I don't want to run into anything, but I don't want precision mode because that way I think it'll be a little bit fuzzy as far as where it goes and when it stops. So all right, let's try that. We've got it set the way we want it set. So now we will engage the autopilot. Turn off. Nope, we can't turn off dampeners. That's not a thing that happens. And oh my God, the power consumption. Because we're engaging like all of the engines at once. That seems highly inefficient. It won't let me turn them off. What if I do it from the remote control block if I turn them off here? Nope, no difference. And here? Nope. Alright, well I can't turn them off. And because I can't run all 6 of my ion thrusters at the same time, I've got power overload here. But we are accelerating like we're supposed to. I'm just curious what it's going to do when it actually reaches the speed it's supposed to reach. Because if this is going to burn the thrusters like this the entire way, then this is not a long-term solution. Looks like it's sorting itself out a little bit there. Power consumption is still awfully high. Hasn't even gotten up to the speed limit yet. Oh, looks like it's slowing down because it's getting too close. So that's probably sensible. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm particularly happy with that experience. It would certainly be complicated to try to program my own autopilot, though. We might do that at some point, but that's definitely a longer term thing rather than a gonna happen now or even gonna happen soon. And I didn't empty my inventory. That's a little bit upsetting. So we're only going to be able to get the drill's worth of magnesium here before we need to head back, because I still have all this uranium ore in my inventory. I was so eager to play with the autopilot, I didn't actually build the large cargo container and empty everything out. What are you doing? Are you collision avoiding right now? What are you doing? At least you're going slow when you're about to smack into an asteroid. You are making me nervous, ship. So I guess it's pretty clear it detected the voxels there, but it seems to kind of be struggling with figuring out a way to get around them. This is probably what collision avoidance is supposed to be doing properly, but isn't really doing properly. Alright, that's enough of that. That is quite enough of those shenanigans, thank you. Alright, so our magnesium deposit is actually over here. Turn the dampeners off, because apparently we're smarter than the autopilot and we can handle not needing to keep the engines running the entire time we're moving. Yeah, that wasn't a particularly satisfying experience. I guess if you have an already well laid out path, so you can skip the collision avoidance because you know there's not going to be any voxel collisions. And you've got plenty of power. I mean, we do kind of have plenty of power. I could have turned on the hydrogen engines, I suppose, and then we probably could have handled it because it would have doubled our power output. But the fact that it flies with inertial dampeners on the whole time is just disappointing. Like, I'm sorry, you can't figure out how to point at the waypoint and then accelerate until you get to the speed I told you to go and then coast. How is that complicated? I don't understand. But it seems to me that we could script that. I'm not entirely sure how off the top of my head, because I think the part I would have trouble with is the orient towards the waypoint. I don't know if the controller blocks can handle that particularly well. I know you can override the gyro to actually do the rotation. I know you can override the thrust to actually do the acceleration. What I don't know, it looks like this is a exclamation mark anyway, because I do not see the magnesium marker. Alright, well, I'm going to head back anyway. We have tested our autopilot and found it wanting. I know we can check your velocity, and if nothing else, you can do a test to see what your acceleration is. And I think you can use vector math. You can get your position and the position of the marker to check and see how far away you are, and then use the acceleration versus the distance to figure out how far away you should be when you start decelerating. So I think all that makes sense, and I know you can check your orientation. It's just the idea of getting your orientation and seeing if you can basically raycast all the way to a waypoint. That strikes me it might be complicated. Since this is close enough, and since we are able to fly more effectively than the damned autopilot, and since I have a cargo full of uranium ore anyway that I need to offload, I am going to go ahead and fly back to our original location here. Also because I want to find out which magnesium deposit is actually closest to here, closest to our base rather than closest to this asteroid. While we're moving though, I will rename this magnesium 1 exclamation point, turn it off, and turn the other ones on and try to take a guess at which one's going to be closest. Probably magnesium 3. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, probably no, magnesium 6 is closer now. So unless our angle is weird, it'll probably actually be magnesium 6. Those are far. That's okay. We won't need a whole lot of magnesium. Magnesium's something that you need for weapons. So like once you have a supply of ammunition, unless you start using it because you got in a fight with somebody, you're not really going to need more of it. So we will get some collected up. We will get some ammunition made up. Um, drop some of it in storage, which we are going to actually finish. And then we should be good on magnesium for a while. I would definitely like to do some scripting here pretty soon, though. I'm not sure what I want to prioritize doing, but I do definitely want to do some scripting. No, I'm not sure if I should structure that as a straight up tutorial and actually walk through, writing the code. Unfortunately, my coding style involves a lot of incrementalism and retrying things and trial and error even, especially in this context because I mean it's one thing when I'm writing code in an environment I'm already skilled in. It's another thing entirely writing it with in the Space Engineers API, which is pretty poorly documented to start with. I'm sure it was helpful at one point, but between the pace of updates and everything and how well maintained the API documentation is. I mean, it's definitely helpful, but there are definitely gaps as well. So it does involve some trial and error to get things working. As far as thoughts of what I have in mind, I just talked about possibly doing an autopilot script. I don't think I want to start with that, although I'll look into it actually and see what I come up with. Because like I said, it's just that one problem I think that I am struggling to think right off the top of my head how I would code that. Oh, I left the ore detector on the mobile construction module. That's why I'm still seeing the silver. I should turn that off. I should also slow down. Gonna have to burn some hydrogen there. I was not paying attention. This way up. Oh, it's in a shadow. I was like, why is the connector shaped weird like that? It's because it's in a shadow. I've also considered doing a damage notification type thing. 'Cause the reason why I thought of that is because when I was dealing with all those salvage drones, I wouldn't even know I was getting hit with something until stuff started breaking off the ship. So it would be nice to have some sort of alert when there are blocks being damaged on your grid. Of course, we could just keep it simple. Our LCD panels are relatively useless at this point. I mean, everything that's on the LCD panels is already on the HUD. So like those LCD scripts I do not consider to be especially useful because I mean some people like to play without the HUD I guess and like in that regard sure great you've got alternatives but they're not particularly easy to read compared to the HUD and I mean the HUD's been fine for everybody up until this point if they wanted to have that information so all of a sudden oh we can do it in the LCDs in the cockpit great I'll stick with my HUD thank you um, but there is some other information that could be useful like uh, the battery status. I mean, it tells you what your power usage is, but it doesn't actually tell you how charged or uncharged your batteries are. That would be good to know. Um, exact fuel status would be helpful. Cargo status would be helpful. Um, Reactor fuel status. There's definitely some things that are really just status readouts that would be very useful to have. Now, of course, this has already been done. There's automatic LCDs, I think, is the script that a lot of people like to use that I've seen on a lot of YouTubers' videos, and it does seem very versatile and very well written and flexible and easy to use and all that good stuff. But I mean, what's the fun in using something that someone else has already written? I would enjoy writing my own, I think, so I'm going to write my own. But what we're going to do now is put a cargo container on here because we are short of cargo space and we need it. Remember, all our upgrades go here, so it can't go around any of that. Now I'm eventually going to want to put two on here. So if I put this one here, and that one would have to go there. If I put that one there, so it looks like there's a gap over the battery no matter which one well, there's a gap over the battery if I want them to both line up with the cargo connectors, and I do. Because even if I put no, I could put it here and just not connect that one, because then they'd be connected to each other, and they would cover the width of the whole construction. No, I can decide that later. For now, I'm going to place this one. So I think that's what I'm going to do first, is script a status indication stuff so that we can show some useful things on these LCD panels in here instead of just that. I mean, the keyboard one is obviously useless. It's a keyboard. It's not like it's a keyboard I can type on either. I mean, you can't even really read it. Like, I'm too far away to see what that gravity indicator says. I mean, I know it says 0 because I mean I'm in space and it says it on the HUD, so I know what it says, but I can't read what it says. Um, I don't even oh, that's the artificial horizon, and I mean we're in space, so there is no horizon. So I don't know what the usefulness of that is. And then that's the power and fuel indicator, but again, you can't read the numbers. Like I know the bottom one's 100 because I can tell how long it is, but the top one I don't know what that number is, except for the fact that I can see over on, the HUD that it says 4. So like these are not useful information to me. Now if I set up a script to put some legit text on here, I can actually make the text big enough that it's legible from the screen. Um, and I can use it to show, what's our fuel status, both nuclear and hydrogen. What's our battery status? What's our cargo status? How full of stuff are we? Because I mean, I've been flipping back and forth into the inventory and the control panel to check all that stuff while I'm mining. Like I need to know, am I full? Am I wasting resources here by continuing to drill when I've got a full cargo hold? Because it'll still take the voxels away, and you won't be able to get those resources anymore because they don't go into your cargo hold because your cargo hold's full. So knowing what your cargo status is kind of a necessary part of mining. And I've been flipping back and forth to the inventory to do it. But if I can have a readout, that'd be great. Um, Batteries, I know my batteries are fully charged right now because I've recharged them and I haven't been using them. But if I am ever using them, knowing exactly how much I've got left would be a good thing to know. Knowing how much uranium I've got in my reactors would be a good thing to know. So, I mean, I can definitely think of useful stuff to do with, LCD readouts and scripts. So I think that's what we're going to work on when we start doing scripts. But for the time being, we need to unload all of this stuff. I'm going to get that and do this. Large cargo container, that's what we want. And we are going to put everything that is not already in the refineries into here. Ice can stay where it is. Those are not filling equally. That irks my OCD. I'm going to pull components out. We're eventually going to sort stuff, so we're not going to stick components and ores and ingots all in the same place. We'll at the very least have the components in a separate container. Look at all that silver. I don't think we need to focus on silver for the time being. 116 in the large grid small reactor there. I think that should tide us over for a while. What do I want to prioritize next? I'm going to keep this uranium going. I'm going to put as much uranium as I can fit in there. That's all of it. Okay, super. So this refinery can be devoted to uranium for the time being. That's fine. I think beyond that, is there silver anywhere else? No. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and finish up the silver, I think. What do we have in here? Gravel, ice, and uranium. I will pull that out eventually, but I'm not in a rush. I want the uranium first. Well, I do want the ice, because I want to refill the colonizer. I want the O2H2 generators in the colonizer to be full of ice at the very least. And I did burn a little bit of that hydrogen as an emergency brake on our way in here. The gravel I don't really care about for the time being. We got our one reactor. We're not going to need reactor components for a little bit. Oh, this is technically the colonizer because the colonizer's docked to it. That's what's going on. Control panel. Battery. Battery is fully charged. Yeah, you can stay auto, because if I run out of uranium, I want to make sure that it does the right thing. Alright, so inventory again. Current ship only. Ice, uranium, and some ammo. Alright, that's fine. Reset our view. Yeah, I said reset the view and then I messed it up again. Is magnesium 6 still the one that's closest? 34.74. Number to beat. Yeah, magnesium 6 it is. Okay, is everything still on? Yep, everything's still on. Turn the connector off. Lift up. Fry some stuff. I don't think we actually fried anything, it just looked like it. Move out of the way of the industrial complex. So between going to the wrong asteroid first and all of the time-wasting exposition I've done, I will go ahead and cut the episode when I get here, and I'll do the mining off screen. And when we come back, we will have a healthy supply of magnesium, and we will get some ammo constructed. Probably put at least 1 or 2 turrets, automated turrets, on the industrial facility. Possibly look into replacing the turrets that we have attached to the ship with automated turrets now that we've completed an assembler and unlocked the progression. This is the furthest resource that we've been going after so far from our kind of home base, so I'm going to go ahead and go up to 50. I still need to slow down, and I have a bad habit of overshooting things. So yeah, that's the plans for the next episode, is to do all that stuff. And I will look into the possibility of doing an autopilot script. I will start thinking about what specific readouts we want for a status script. So yeah, that's going to be the priority. I might stick the programmable block where that remote control block is, because as useless as that particular autopilot was, insisting on using inertial dampeners to get there, it's just, why? No, come on now, please. I don't think that's going to be particularly useful to have on board here. So I will probably remove the remote control block. At least until I'm satisfied that this thing's sufficiently well armed. If I think that it's well armed enough to take care of itself, if it runs into something, then I might want to put a remote control block on there just so that I can fly it around without me watching it or sitting in it. But it needs antenna range to do that, and with the antenna range turned up, it is susceptible to being spotted by pirates. I mean, we didn't have much luck with the salvage drones. They seem to be able to spot us without it, but I don't know that all the other ships are similar in that regard. But anyway, point is, I don't think a remote control block on here is particularly useful at the time, for the time being. So unless I can think of another compelling place to put it, the programmable block will go there. And we will at least do battery readout, uranium readout in the reactors. hydrogen readout in both the engines and in the tank, ice readout, cargo readout in general. At least that much. I can't think of anything else right now off the top of my head. I might tinker around with the idea of damage. I would also like to do a rangefinder. The cameras can do a raycast. I'm not sure what the range is. I know the range is dependent on power, like it has to charge. And the more you let it charge, the more power it consumes, the further it can project. But in terms of exploration, like it would be nice to know. Like we know how far away this one is because it's a bookmark and it tells us. But places we haven't been before, if we can detect asteroids that are sitting in front of us and on the camera view, and tell how far away they are, I think that would be a useful thing. So that's something else I might try to play around with and see if we can figure out how to script. I'm not going to do a lot of the experimentation stuff on camera. I'll probably honestly do it in a creative world. But if I do get it working, I will either rewrite it as a tutorial for video, or I'll at least do a code review and a demo. If you have a preference one way or the other, let me know in the comments. I will certainly take that under advisement. I know Patrick Henson's been doing some awesome tutorials in scripting, and I've seen some awesome tutorials on scripting. Um, but I mean, this is a Let's Play series, and doing a scripting tutorial in the middle of a Let's Play, it's going inconsistent. So I don't want to upset people who are more interested in the Let's Play aspect of it by, spending an entire episode writing code. But if it's something you want to see, by all means, let me know. And like I said, I will take that under advisement. We are just over an hour. I'm okay with it for, kind of the even 10 episodes, but this is episode number 30. I want to thank everybody who's been watching. I want to thank everybody who's subscribed, and I certainly want to thank people who have commented. I really do appreciate comments. I like hearing from, people who are watching the videos. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see, what you don't want to see. If you want me to play a different game, I'm going to try to keep with the daily Space Engineers schedule for the time being. Frankly, I'm getting ahead on videos again now because I want to keep playing, and I don't want, to skip something that, you know, might be interesting. So I'll certainly keep up the daily schedule as long as it's relatively easy for me to get ahead like this. If it gets to the point where it feels too grindy or whatever, then I may start switching it up. I'll continue this as long as I'm, coming up with new and interesting things to do. I will definitely be building a large ship with a jump drive. I will make a point of visiting the other celestial bodies in the solar system. And I would like to build some more automated contraptions that are survival friendly. I mean, we did the borehole drill, and there's a whole separate playlist on that. It's not part of this Let's Play, but we did the automated mining rover, which is, been built in survival, but it hasn't really been coded. It's still sitting down in the Earth-like planet, being controlled pretty manually. But I mean, you saw the script in episode 10, and I think it worked pretty well. And I actually made some improvements on it after that video was recorded. At some point, we will probably return to the Earth-like planet and finish it. Probably, most likely, maybe, theoretically. Uh, yeah, this is far. This will be the last time we take this trip on camera. But I would really like to do some sort of automated exploration. I think that would be cool. But the issue is that the ore detector just doesn't have the API interface. I believe I've read on forums and stuff that that feature's been requested, but it doesn't exist at this point. you can't use the scripting block to query an ore detector and say, hey, what are you detecting and where is it? And I'm getting comfortable with scripting. I am not at all comfortable yet with modding. I feel like that's something that a mod could accomplish. I don't even think it would necessarily have to be an overly complicated mod. I know that there are already mods that extend the range of the ore detector. Um, those aren't script based, I don't think. I think those are purely XML based, like you just reconfigure that in the properties file and say, hey, use more detector parts and have a longer range. Done. Um, so that's pretty simple. I don't even think they're using different models and textures for that, if I remember correctly. So extending the range is easy. Although there is a performance hit for that, so it's not like I can just, mod in an ore detector that can read the entire solar system. That would crash the game and set my computer on fire most likely. But if I could mod in an API that would say, oh, you detected a deposit, why don't you, send a message over an antenna or create a GPS marker or do some other useful way of communicating it. Especially if we can also combine that with that rangefinder idea I was talking about with the camera. We could basically have a drone that would, spin around in a circle until it found an asteroid that it could see, fly over to the asteroid, turn on its ore detector, do some scanning, mark the ore deposits, fly around a little bit and basically keep the asteroid in view and at a certain distance so that the ore detector was within range and mark as many deposits as it could find and then find another asteroid and move on to the next one. Run low on fuel, come back to a home port connector or whatever. But that would also require, I mean, realistic. I mean, we could use the remote control block at autopilot at that point. Like, okay, fine. But that was really non-satisfying, honestly. I am disappointed in the autopilot. I'm not gonna lie. I suppose it would be more useful if you're on a planet and you have gravity to deal with, because then you can't turn inertial dampeners off and just let it go, because it'll fall and hit the ground, and then it won't go anywhere, and that's bad. So it may be more useful in the context of flying around the planet, but flying around in space, with inertial dampeners on and basically running the engines the entire time, that is not a useful function for me. Because I got that kind of OCD min-maxing thing where I don't want to burn a whole bunch of energy I don't need to. Like at this point, I've got the power. I've got the reactors. I can easily get hold of the ice. We could fly around with inertial dampeners on the whole time, and then we could go to max speed and all that good stuff. But why? I probably could have done that a little bit faster because that was a long trip, and I'm struggling coming up with things to say and running an hour and 15-minute long episode almost. But how much uranium would I have burned getting up to full speed, and how entirely too fast would I have been going when I needed to slow down and smacked into the asteroid because I wasn't paying attention? I mean, I'm a big fan of Kerbal Space Program, and it's a little bit more Kerbal-esque, I think, not to have inertial dampeners on the entire time. Like you point somewhere, you accelerate, and then you coast. That's how spaceflight works. And when I first started playing, I didn't realize you could turn inertial dampeners off. I mean, this was 6 years ago, I guess it must have been. But it took me a while to realize that that was a feature that you could do, and I definitely thought that was a more interesting way to play. And there we go. There is a surface magnesium deposit. All right, so we found magnesium. I'm not going to make you watch me drill now, too. I mean, it's a surface magnesium deposit. There's very little interesting that's going to happen here. We're going to turn the drill on. We're going to get a lot of magnesium, and then we're going to go back. And I'm not going to make you watch me fly back either. I made you watch me fly out here. That was bad enough. Anyway, I hope you're interested in some of the plans that we have for this series and for the channel in general. Again, please subscribe so that you can see all that as it develops. Likes, comments, and verbal abuse are welcome, especially comments. Like I said, I really do like hearing from people who are watching the videos. Let me know what you're enjoying and what you want to see. Um, I am enjoying making the videos, and I get myself a little ego boost when I see the view count go up, and an even bigger ego boost when somebody comments and says, "Hey, I like what you're doing here. Good stuff." So I definitely appreciate that. Um, and This is episode 30 of the Let's Play series, and episode 30 of the channel at the same time, because this is my first Let's Play series. So I am definitely enjoying myself, and it kind of gives me an excuse to keep playing and come up with interesting things to do. And I mean, I will tend to get bored of a game and be like, all right, I want to do something else right now. But I'm kind of forcing myself to come back to Space Engineers, time and time again at this point, just because, hey, I'm doing the series. I don't want to start another game and get sucked into that, and then not have the series continue. So again, thanks for watching. Like I said, I'm not gonna make you watch me drill. See you next time. Bye.